wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. We are from Group 4, consists of me, Indah Putlarasati, as moderator, and Kirana Ayudiawardani, Emilia Agustin, Sheryl Lalatul Aulia, Afita Nisrina, Aisyah Sarinastiti, and Sinta Khairia. We won't presenting the material about textual equivalence, thematic and information structure. Let's start. A sentence is not autonomous. It does not exist for its own sake, but as part of situation and part of a text, and one of the most important functions of information dynamics is precisely to link a sentence to its environment in a manner which allows the information to flow through the text in the desired manner. We ended the last chapter with a brief discussion of word order and of text. It was suggested that the linear arrangement of linguistic elements plays a role in organizing message at text level. In this chapter, we resume our discussion of word order as a textual strategy rather than a grammatical feature, and explore a number of ways in which its role in controlling information flow can be explained. Linear arrangement then has a role to play in processing information and organizing message at text level. Of the numerous formulations available for expressing a given message, a speaker or writer will normally opt for one that makes the flow of information clearer in a given context. In order to appreciate the factor which motivate a writer or speaker to make this kind of selection, clause as a message can be analyzed in terms of two types of structure: thematic structure and information structure. There are two main approaches to the analysis of clause as a message. The Hallidayan approach treats thematic and information structure as separate through two often overlapping features of discourse organization. The two structures are seen to be essentially distinct from each other. Linguistics belonging to the prejudice school by a large conflate the two structures as combine them in the same description. The two approaches are often at odds with each other and can produce completely different analysis of the same clause. Uh, both approaches are outlined below, starting with a general overview, which follow the Hallidayan or separating approach. For a good overview of both positions, see phrase who refers to them as the separating approach and the combining approach. Thank you.
General overview based on the Hallidian approach to information flow. Thematic structure, theme, and rhythm. The interactional organism of sentence consists of two segments. The first segment is called the theme, and the theme explains the clause is about. It has two functions. First, it's an orientation point that connects to the previous discourse by maintaining a coherent point of view. And then, as a starting point connecting to the future and distributing to further development. The second segment of a clause is called the rim, as the most important element in the structure of the clause as a message because to tell information that the speakers want to convey to the hearer. This basically means that every clause has the structure of a message or something, the rim, or about something, or the theme. Point from Aristotle's analysis. First, thematic analysis can be represented hierarchically. The sentence which consists of more than one clause will have several thematic structures. A clause that has its own theme structure may be positioned under a large theme structure. And then second, we have included some parentheses, for example, because, to indicate that they do not fit the analysis. The reason is that some elements are not part of the basic thematic structures of the text because they are not part of the proportional message. Includes special conjunctions such as conjunction and disconjunctions. There is correlation between theme, subject, predicate, themes in the Halidian model. In general, the difference between rem and theme is more or less the same as a traditional grammar between subject and predicate. Thematic structures grammatically versus acceptability. Unlike the subject-predicate distinctions, the notion of theme and rhymes can be used to explain the acceptance, not grammar, of a particular order in a particular context. Themes and rhymes are not grammatical meaning. In context, grammar does not always guarantee acceptance or coherence. For example, the following text is well informed grammatically but is ill formed in terms of its thematics. Now comes the president here. Is the window he's stepping through to wave to the crowd. On his victory, his opponent congratulates him. Gentlemen and ladies, that you are confident in me honors me. From Holiday. (1009-78), page 134. The writer could have selected a sequence such as his opponent congratulates him on his victory, or he is congratulated on his victory by his opponent. The acceptability, rather than grammatically, of any of their sequence in a given context depends on how it fits into its surrounding textual environment. The above text is fabricated for the purpose of illustration. Holiday argues that one does not normally meet on text of his sort in real life. At this point, it is sufficient to point out that it is difficult to see a link between the themes of the above clauses are even between a theme and a following theme. Unlike the above constructed text, the following is an authentic advertisement for Mazda cars, most likely a translation of an Italian text, which appeared in the Alitalia in Flight magazine February 1991, page 20 until 1. What inspired that rebellious young poet called Rebound? What drove him to react into the innermost part of his soul in search of the undiscovered? It allowed him to take words that already existed and yet express himself in the completely new way. Some creators are brave enough to release their dreams without compromise. It is men like this who created the MX5 in 1989. By ignoring the rules, they are constantly reshaping the future. Even now, they are raising a new dream. They work for Mazda. The Mazda text illustrations that, quite apart from any considerations of grammatically, it is necessary to take account of thematic structure and to maintain a coherent point of view in any act of communication.
My name is Emily Agustin. My MPM is 09190135571. Today I will to explain about thematic structure, text organization, and development. In addition to complementing the notion of grammaticality with the notion of accessibility and naturalness, the name-brand distinction can also be useful explaining method of organization and development in different types of text. In this area, a great deal of emphasis has traditionally been placed on them rather than on rhyme. In the context of travel, location provides a natural point of orientation around which the text as a whole can be organized. The following extract from A Hero from Zero show how a series of homogeneous names can provide a point of orientation and a method development for a given thread of language. For example, I saw how Britain, the incoming Secretary of State for Trade, was prepared to say he could find nothing wrong with the matter. The impact of a series of I's in the position is not the same as the impact of a series of verbs inflected for first person, such as so I, took I, and etc. Where it is too difficult to discern line as clearly as in the pronoun plus verb combination. If the name of the most of the sentences of a paragraph refer to one semantic field, say location, part of some object, challenge versus wisdom, and etc., then that semantic field will be perceived as the method of development of the paragraph. If no comments, semantic elements run through the themes of the sentences of paragraph, then no simple method of development will be paragraph. And that is why you have to ensure that Whatever elements you put in initial clause position in your target text or in given a part of your target text to add up to something that can be understood as a method of a development and that can provide a point of orientation for that part of the text.
I want to explain about thematic structure, marked versus unmarked sequences. This particular aspect of thematic organization is of special relevance in translation because understanding it can help to heighten our awareness of meaningful choice made by speakers and writers in the course of communication. Thematic choice involves selecting a clause theme. The main clause elements are subject, predicator, object, complement, and adjunct. In the Halidayan model, thematic choice expressed by placing one of these elements in initial position in the clause. The fact that adjectives have to be placed in front of nouns in English, for instance, means that their occurrence in this position has little or no single significance because it is not the result of choice. On the other hand, putting a time or place adverbial such as today or on the shelf the degree markedness involved will depend on the frequency with which the element in question generally occurs in them position and the extent to which it is normally mobile within the clause. A, a given type of clause will therefore have one unmarked thematic structure, variation of which will produce different types of marked theme. These unmarked choices are a natural extension of the function of theme, which is to provide a point of departure or an orientation. A speaker normally signals his or her point of departure by indicating or uh, sh- whether she is making a statement, asking a question, or giving an order. Thus, in the case of an imperative clause, for instance, the verb naturally occupies thematic position because that is what the message is about, getting the addresses to do something. His subject is never selected as them in an English declarative clause. It occupies that position by default. By contrast, a predicator hardly ever occurs in theme position in English declarative clause, and so when it does, it is highly marked. The passive is one such option in English. John gave me John gave me this book, and this book was given me by John, which are both unmarked. This, this suggests that a marked theme has an additional or different function. A marked theme is selected specific, specif- specifically to foreground a particular element as the topic of the clause or its point of departure. This is often explained in terms of making the element in question more prominent or emphasizing it, an explanation which some may find confusing. In other words, placing an element in theme position gives that element local, temporary prominence within the clause. Putting an element in rem position means that it is part of the well speaker has to say, and that is the very core and any message.
Halidean linguistics identify three main types of marked term in English. First, front term, predicate term, and identifying term. These are explained below with example from trans texts where applicable. First, front term according to Greenbaum and Crick. Fronting involves the assignment of marked term by moving into initial position an item which is otherwise unusual there.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rafita Nisrina and I will continue from the last presentation. Fronting of the time or place adjunct in China, the book received a great deal of publicity. This is a remake structure but is not highly marked because adverbials are fairly mobile elements in English. As we noted earlier, thematizing place adjusts in very common in certificate such as travel brochure where locative term over a natural method of the text development. Found that the same is true of Great White Book. So in the following example from the forward to a hero from zero, Tini Rowland presents a summary of the event leading up of the Fae, brother acquaintance of the House of Fraser. Thematicized temporal adjunct are highlighted in bold, fronting of object or complement. The object is a great deal of publicity the book received in China. Complement, well published the book was. The fronting of object and of complement is more marked than the fronting adjunct in English because object and complement are fairly, in other words, restricted in position.
My name is Aisyah Saranstiti. My PM is 091-901. In translating from a language such as English, the unmarked predicator plus subject structure would normally be translated by an annual unmarked structure such as subject plus predicator rather than by an identical but highly marked structure which places the predicator in initial position. Predicated and identifying them times must be handled carefully in translation because they are far more marked in language with relatively free word order such as German than they are in English. Back translation
For such customer, have we the properties of the most popular materialism. Another example come from an interview with the chairman of the Japanese Sony organization, and to monitor published in the edition of the Japanese Sony organization. Kiyomorito published in an edition of Playboy magazine and translated into brilliant Portuguese. The Arabic predicator plus subject isn't marked all and therefore fail to survive to mark English structure is not good strategy in this instance, and that slightly different similarly mark Arabic structure. Generally speaking, language with relatively free word order like German
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. My name is Sinta Khairiyah. My NPM is 0919013641. I want to continue what I just said. In addition to fronted, predicated, and identifying themes, other types of marked theme exist in English, but they tend to be much more restricted and more likely to be used in formal language. These are purpose theme and post theme, said Yang, 1980. We can see the example. For purpose theme, the fitter, he sent these documents to the office. These documents, the fitter sent them to the office. For post theme, he sent these documents to the office, the fitter. He sent these documents to the office, the fitter did. The fitter sent them to the office, these documents. Both involve using a clause tag. In purpose theme, the clause tag occurs at the beginning of the clause, but in post theme, it occurs at the end of the clause. Another case, Haladi said that the theme is possible as a reflection of the relatively fixed word order, this being language with a special category of topic which always occurs at the beginning of the clause. Chinese has been identified by Li at 1976 as a topic prominent language. Unlike subject prominent language such as English, French, and German, topic prominent languages appear to have double subject. Remember, double subject. For example, animals, I advocate a conversation policy, Mandarin version. This field, the rice is very good, Lahu version. The present time, there are many schools, said in Korea. Fish, red snapper is delicious, based on Japanese. So the translators are in a position similar to that of French. Learner of language and people of this should become more common when the direction of the translation into the non-native language rather than the translator of mother tongue. To my knowledge, no one has yet addressed the relationship between topic prominent language and theme. This language presumably have a clause theme as well as sentence topic. Disorganization into topic command structures must add the complexity of their thematic and analysis to the difficulty of identifying signal thematic of the status. There are, for instance, several conflicting claims concerning the function of the Japanese suffix like wa. We can see wa marks topic, although she used the term theme. So this is currently as an area of some difficulty for translation working from into a topic prominent language such as Korea, Japanese, and Chinese. Okay guys, that's all from me, and it is also closing in our group presentation. So thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.